Today I wanted to talk to you guys about a topic that's kind of been on my mind and slowly morphed my playing over the last maybe 4 or 5 years now. And I found this way of kind of approaching music and guitar has massively changed, my playing. And I think it's kind of a hidden thing that, I've never thought about it for pretty much 10 years of my playing. And I don't know how much, maybe I'm just the only one that's never thought about it and from this kind of perspective. And it's kind of nuanced, but I think it's super, super important. And the way it's changed my guitar playing is so impactful. And I wanted to share it with you guys. And it's not necessarily anything you're going to do physically on the guitar right now. And it's really, the title of the video is, are you a guitarist or a musician? And I just wanted to dive into like what I mean by this question and also how the impacts of looking at music through the lens of being a guitar player and how it differs from looking at music through the lens of a musician. I've slowly over the last 4 or 5 years became more of a musician than a guitar player, when before I felt like I was exclusively a guitar player. I think there's some things it's to be aware of. Do you want to be a guitar player? And that's totally fine. Or do you want to be a musician? It's a different thing, and it affects your overall musicianship and your approach to the instrument. So when I picked a guitar up, I love guitar. I thought guitar was so awesome, so fun, mysterious. It's like competitive in a very nice way, in the sense of to me it's like the best video game ever. It's like the best game ever because you learn new things. There's always these new challenges, but then there's also the creativity, the curiosity of it. So I don't know, something about guitar, really music in general, but especially guitar. There's something about it to me that's so multifaceted. There's so many amazing, cool things about it. It's not just like this challenge of understanding and learning more and being able to play things, a certain way, but there's also that creativity, the curiosity, the musicality of hearing and being able to create a story. When I was a young kid, it kind of captivated me, and it still does to this day. And I think it's I don't know, it's still my favorite thing. So I would call myself a guitarist at heart. I just love the instrument. And there's some problems that kind of come up because I'm so focused on guitar by itself, not music as a whole. So for example, how me as a guitarist listens to music is much different than the average person, or than what I'd say a musician would do when they're just listening to music. And the same thing happens when you're actually playing the instrument, especially obviously in the context of a band or a backing track even, or if you're composing a song or something like that. The guitarist hears it and plays it differently than a musician would. Let's talk about guitar tone for a second. So we can have the greatest guitar tone ever, right? When we're sitting by ourselves, that's what it sounds like. But it might sound bad when you play with your band. Now, you could blame it on the band, but maybe your tone doesn't fit the song, the genre, or the group of guys you're playing with, right? A guitarist would be like, I don't care, I love this tone, this is going to be the tone, and that's fine. A musician, on the other hand, would be like, okay, I love this tone at the house when I'm playing, I'm jamming by myself, but I know when I play with my band and we're playing these songs, I need to fit in communally with the band and find not the best guitar tone, but what's the best tone for the music we're playing with the whole band. When I listen to music for the first 10, 20 years of my life, I listened to music and all I heard was guitar. It's like all my favorite songs growing up, I don't know the lyrics. Like I have these records over here. UFO Obsession, UFO Strangers in the Night, Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2. Obviously there's many other records. For 10 years, 15 years, I listened to those records. Majority of the lyrics I don't know, right? I know the melody, I hear the melody of the lyrics, but my focus was listening to exclusively the guitar. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's a very inside the box way of listening and playing a musical instrument. When music is, unless you're playing a cappella by yourself, everything's communally. Everything is happening in this supportive way. And it's kind of hurt me as a guitar player. And this is where I want you to kind of think about being a musician. So for example, Michael Schenker is my favorite guitar player. I listen to his solos and I absolutely love the solos. I learned the solos growing up, but I just learned the solo. That's all I cared about was the solo. Now, as I'm getting older, I'm trying to understand music better. I'm trying to understand songwriting better and composition better. Now I go back and I realize, when I'm trying to write my own solos and songs, that just focusing on the guitar solo doesn't get you to sound like Michael Schenker, Eddie Van Halen, or maybe Slash or David Gilmour. It doesn't get you to that point. You have to look at it as a musician, taking a step back, listening to the song in the solo, not just hearing the guitar solo, but hearing the whole entire orchestration. What is the drummer playing? How is he playing? What is the rhythm guitar player or keyboard player playing? What chords are he playing? How intensely is he playing? What's the rhythm he's playing at? What's the bass player doing? Where is he, like, just right in the pocket? Is he doing something fancy? Everything comes together in this communal way to make that solo sound epic. In every top guitar solo you've ever listened to, obviously the solo is incredible, but the overall orchestration of everybody in that band is what's making that solo sound so good. Great example is AC/DC, You Shook Me All Night Long. Not only is it a great solo, but you go analyze what the bass player's doing, the rhythm guitar, and the drums. You hear that everybody's in there bringing that solo to alive. It's not just Angus Young. It's the drummer's hitting crashes at the right time. The drummer builds up the intensity at the right time. Malcolm Young on rhythm guitar changes his rhythm at the proper way to build and orchestrate the most impact for that solo. Sweet Child of Mine, go listen to it. The whole orchestration of the band is what makes the impact of that. And obviously we have lanes of this. It's not like you're all of a sudden just a musician. It's this blend back and forth, because I love being a guitar player. A guitar player listens to something and is like, oh, that's a cool alternate picking lick that he did right there in that solo or something like that. Or I like the way he used the wah-wah right there. A musician might not, think in that way, right? So it's gonna be all these balancing of being a guitarist and a musician, but there's limitations. If you're only a guitar player, you'll never fully understand why these songs and these solos that we love and learn so much from, and why they're so impactful, because we're so in the lane of guitar and the box of guitar, we're not able to take a step out. I'll be in lessons with students and we'll be working on improvisation. I love it. That's one of my favorite things. And I always have to cover this because there's a massive perspective change that has to be made. Is a lot of us get super judgmental. We go improvise and, we're like, oh man, I run out of ideas and I keep playing the same thing over and over again. I don't know how to tell a good story. Like all these different things, right? How do I sound like my favorite guitar player who's this, that, or the other thing? Well, we have to take a step back and, the context of improvising over a backing track, some static backing track, it's not even possible. The greatest guitar player in the world, like Neil Schon, one of my favorite guitar players, his solos, incredible. His solos are always perfect, in my opinion. But he posts, not to throw shade on Neil Schon, I love Neil Schon. When he posts him improvising on like Instagram or something like that over backing tracks, he doesn't have the same magic. And I don't think it's necessarily him. Like, I don't think it's his fault. There's a difference between compositional writing and improvising, but also there's a communal aspect. So I had a student one time, he sent me a live recording of the Allman Brothers, and it was this big long improvised solo section, and he's working on developing how to improvise over there, and we can learn ideas and kind of build on that. And the biggest thing I had to let him know on is Allman Brothers are all together collaboratively improvising together in the moment. If we're just going to focus on the guitar, we can get very far. We can be like, okay, what's the note choice? What's the phrasing? But the overall impact of those notes, we can't duplicate, because the drummer's there assisting him with that story. The rhythm players are assisting his lead playing. The bass player, everybody is in this cohesion, collaboratively helping that story. Now, it might be all improvised, but it's still pushing the story together, and we can't do that over a static track. So where this has, really, really helped me out when either composing or playing with a band live is, back in the day, I used to go for a solo, and I just thought about my solo. I just thought about, oh, what key is this in? Okay, what scale am I going to use? Or what are the chords? Oh, here's a cool lick I can throw in right there. And when I went soloed, I pretty much only heard the solo. Like, all I focused in was on me. The whole time is all about, what am I playing on guitar? What's cool on guitar? Not what sounds good as the whole orchestration of the band. Now, assuming I'm in the right flow, I'm listening. I'm like, okay, what's the keyboard player playing? What's the drummer playing? And I try to build off that, and I try to be as much of a listener in the audience as I am a guitar player on stage playing. I don't want to be stuck in just playing guitar in that little box. I want to be working on being able to hear in this cohesion of the whole band, but also being a guitar player. And then also, I want to be a listener. I want to be an enjoyer of the music, right? So, and that's kind of where like you find shred licks sometimes are not as cool, right? Sometimes it's the right thing, even though it's fun as a guitar player to throw a cool lick in that you've been practicing for months. But maybe as the audience listener, it's not the right move. Maybe as the collaborative musician on stage playing, it's not the right move. And so taking the step out and listening to all of music, not as guitar, 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 I'm a guitarist, what's the technique, what's the scale, what's the this, that, and the other thing, and listening to it as a musical orchestration and try to hear everything together. Don't hear a guitar, like an isolated guitar solo, and think of it that way. That guitar solo is in context of other musicians that are all assisting in helping it create that sound. And without knowing that, it's hard to develop the guitar playing skills. So slowly becoming a musician, a better musician. I would say for 10 years, I was not a musician. I was a guitar player. Now slowly becoming a better musician and actually being a musician and looking at music and everything like that through the lens of a musician has made me a better guitar player. And I think where I want to be as a guitar player and where I want to be on the instrument, at least where I'm at now, the only way I can do that is not by being a guitar player. It's not by getting fast. Like I still practice scales and techniques and polishing things up and my rhythm and all that. But the biggest thing is, how can I become a better musician? How can I be able to be in the moment and know what serves the current music, not what serves me as a guitar player? And so anyways, that's kind of my opinion. I'm curious to know what you guys kind of think about that topic. If, maybe you guys are all musicians and you need to be more of a guitar player. That's totally possible too. You need to get more refined. You hear everything too broadly maybe, and you got to get more specific, and you want to develop the skills on guitar more. I was the other way around. I was so guitar for so many years that I had to slowly become a musician and listening through music and play guitar as a musician, not as a guitar player. It's made me a way better musician and a way better guitar player. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Hopefully I said that clearly enough to kind of impact the difference there. Obviously, we keep going in kind of more detail of the difference. But that's kind of my firsthand experience over the last 4 or 5 years, slowly developing what I would say is my being a musician and developing my musicianship, and also how it helps you be a better guitar player, and just I think a better enjoyer of music. I enjoy music much differently now, and growing up, I didn't have that when I was always listening to just guitar, guitar, guitar. That's all I listened to. I didn't hear the whole song. I heard the guitar part. Now I listen to music and I can enjoy it at a completely different level, completely different way. And also, one last thing, the difference I've experienced from being a musician and not just a guitar player is I find that to become a better guitar player, it actually is simply just hours sitting down with the guitar, playing guitar, learning guitar, practicing guitar. What I love about being a musician is you can become a better musician. You don't need an instrument in your hands. Like I can become a better guitar player by becoming a better musician. And I know a lot of people are, short on time of practicing. And to become a great guitar player, you need that time, you need that practice, you need the repetition. But to become a better musician, you don't need that. You just need an ear. You just need listening and curiosity of the ear. And just listening to the radio, you can become a better musician if you're listening the right way. So that's one thing I love about being a musician is it doesn't take... It's more of an awareness than it is some activity of practice that needs, to be, I got to practice for 3 hours to be a better musician. It's not really like that. It's a completely different perspective change where you can always be becoming a better musician. Therefore, in my experience, becoming a better guitarist nonstop, even if you're not sitting down with the instrument, because it all comes together in this beautiful kind of communal way. And I think it's been absolutely transformative. And I haven't been able to play as much the last few years. I'm slowly getting better with my hand, and I've been kind of forced into this need of being a musician because I I couldn't sit down and practice hours and hours. My technique was drifting away. I could still play, but it was just I was watching and like all my technique and my speed and my technical skills go away because I didn't have the guitar in my hand because I couldn't at the time. But what came in was being a musician and listening to music, realizing I can become a better guitar player not by sitting down and just practicing scales all day long. I can become a better guitar player by just committing to being a musician, and what kind of is included in that helps you become a better guitar player, even if you don't have a guitar in your hand. So anyways, that's a couple of my findings the last 4 or 5 years. I wanted to share that with you guys. I'm very curious of what your perspective on this is as well. So if you have anything to include, please do down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. I hope you found some of this information helpful to you, maybe a new way of looking at guitar and music. Please let me know down below if you found any of this useful or if you wanted to add on to anything. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you back next time.